I'm Reverend Roy. Thank you for being here. Before we get started with the class, I want to make just a quick announcement and remind everyone we got 5 readers here today, 2 inside and 3 outside. And the sign-ups for the inside readers are by the reading room, and the sign-ups for the outside readers are by the front door outside. So I'm sure they would appreciate your patronage today, especially the ones sitting outside in the heat. All right, so today we're going to talk about death omens and death practices. This morning, Papa G talked about the sun and how lovely that is, and I'm going to go a different direction. So the first thing is, what is a death omen? I'm sure you've heard of that before, but in the old ways, especially in the South, because we got our own ways of doing things, we didn't need calendars to know when death was near. We watched the land, we watched the birds, we paid attention when the wind shifted, when mirrors cracked, when roosters crowed, when pictures fell off the wall. All of these things were considered death omens. And a death omen is a sign. It's a warning. It's really meant to be an event or a sound or animal behaviors that just signal death is approaching. It could foretell the passing of a loved one. It could foretell that someone is about to be a widow or widower. It could indicate just an end to a major cycle in your life. Omens are never meant to cause fear. They are an invitation. They're an invitation from spirit to prepare, to tend to unfinished business, give your apologies where you need to pray and protect and honor what is sacred in the transition, because death is always a transition. And a nice quote here, they say the dead don't always knock on the door. Sometimes they come with the owl. Sometimes they ride the wind. Sometimes they show up in your dreams holding your grandmother's hand. So that's what we're talking about here today. In the South, sometimes we do things a little bit different than the rest of the country. And for reference purposes, today when I'm talking, know that there's a difference between cemeteries and graveyards. Graveyards are always on church ground, considered hallowed ground. Cemeteries are the big fields, just rows and rows and rows of headstones. So that's not considered hollow, sacred ground by a lot of people. In the South, mostly, and in other parts of the country, but especially in the South, if you pay attention to graveyards, and including cemeteries, all the headstones face east and west. And that was with the idea that, in the resurrection, we'd all rise to the east to meet Jesus. So a headstone doesn't necessarily mean that's where the head is at. Your feet could be at the headstone. The feet are always in the east in southern graveyards. That's kind of going away out here with new places, but in the old graveyards and cemeteries, that's how it was. So in researching this class, I thought about a lot of things I wanted to talk about today, more than I could get in. And I just kept finding so many references to different omens in the old ways, in the South and in the mountains. And so I'm just going to go through a lot of these with you, because some of these are really interesting and really fun. Always stop the clocks when someone dies. Very old tradition there. When a person dies, time stood still for them, and a new period of existence started without time. So when time continues, you are inviting the spirit of the deceased to remain if you don't stop the clocks, because they're in a new place. If you hear ringing bells at a funeral, that means their new time has begun. That is a very good sign. That means they have completed their transition to the other side when you hear ringing bells. Cover the mirrors when someone dies. My family never did that. That wasn't one of our traditions, but I get it. So if the spirit of a newly departed sees themselves in the mirror, their spirit will be trapped in that room where the mirror is. Also, it's believed that the first person to see themselves in that mirror after someone dies will be the next person to die. in that family. So cover up those mirrors. A dog howling outside their house, especially if it faces the door and refuses to be comforted, is an omen of someone in the house is about to die. If a black dog howls at night, that means the devil is near and approaching your house. So get out your holy water. If a white dog, which is called a ghost dog, comes to your home or follows you home or waits outside, they won't come on the porch, they'll just wait outside, that means they're waiting for death to enter the home. They're not giving the sign that someone's dying. That's already happening. They're waiting for spirit to pass by them. A little bit different there. This one's funny. If a dog crawls on its belly while dragging its hind feet, it's measuring its owner's gravesite. So, watch your dog. If you find an inchworm on you crawling up your arm or whatever, it's measuring your death shroud. So, an inch at a time, I guess. Owls hooting near the house is a death omen. Now, we hear different things about owls in different traditions, but hearing them is a death omen. Every person in the house should take their shoes, put them upside down under their bed to deter death from visiting. The Luna moth, do you know what those are? They're very beautiful, large Luna moths, are said to carry the souls of the dead and messages from the other side. So, I actually tried to find one of those before this class, but I couldn't. White doves are a message of death. Now, we often hear about white doves being a sign of peace and so forth, but in the old South, they were a sign of death. Mourning doves are different, and they are not a sign of death. But I will tell you all this. Right before my mother, just a couple of weeks before my mother died, I kept hearing mourning doves. But it was the natural time of year to hear mourning doves. But still, every year when the mourning doves start in the spring, I always think about, oh, somebody about to die around here. So, when you hear a hen crow, now have any of you ever heard a hen crow? Really? I haven't. I grew up with a lot of chickens and I never did. So, once, well, when a hen crows, kill her. It's bad luck to let her live. A rooster crowing at night, especially if it does it 3 times or at an unusual hour, is a sure sign that death is in the neighborhood. So, this is weird, don't go to bed singing or you will die during the night. Now, I know I'm bad about that. If I get a song in my head, I may not be able to do that anymore. All right, if you step over a dug grave in the graveyard or cemetery, you'll be the next to be buried there. Have any of y'all ever watched Ab Fab? There's a hilarious episode where Eddie's father dies and they're walking through the graveyard and they fall into the dug grave. I thought about that when I found this piece. All right, if you look up at night and count 100 stars before lowering your head, you will die before morning. Now, I don't know who tried this, but... And I apologize. I've talked to so many people already today. My voice is just really about to die here. Always carry a corpse feet first. If you carry them head first, it confuses the spirits. And it's believed the person can look back and bring someone with them. The exception is to carry the body head first if you're taking them into the church, and that's to keep the spirits out. We've all heard this one. To dream of a birth is a sign of death, but to dream of death is a sign of birth in the family. So, to dream of a living person is dead is a death omen. I've dreamed of people that died before, and it actually did happen. So, and I've experienced this with people too. A bird flying into the house, especially a blackbird, sparrow, or owl, is considered a spirit to come collect a soul. So, Cats acting strangely or refusing to go near someone. That's typical behavior of a cat. But anyway, especially the sick or elderly, can signal that death is near. And then some household omens. Mirrors breaking unexpectedly or falling off the wall can signal an upcoming death. Clocks stopping at the time of death or right before someone passes. And I have witnessed that myself, where the clock stopped just right before someone died. So, pictures falling off the wall of a living person can foretell the person's death. A sudden chill in the room, often seen as the spirit passing through to come and get someone. A sudden knock on the door when no one's there, this is known as a death knock, can be a spirit announcing its arrival. So, friendly spirit, he knocks before he comes in. A candle that flickers or goes out on its own during a vigil by someone near the ill is a warning the spirit is ready to leave with them. Some nature things. A sudden storm or lightning strike near a funeral is believed to signify the unrest of the deceased spirit. So you might need some extra vigil or prayer there. A swarm of flies in the house, especially around the windows, is a warning of death. And then this one was in the title, if you saw that. Corn shucks twisting or rotting oddly, seen as bad luck or a sign of decay of the family. Now, I know when I was growing up, I can remember a time when I was growing up that our corn got, I think they call it blight, and every ear of corn we opened, it just looked like this black, ugly fungus. And I can remember my grandfather being so upset because that wasn't just a diseased corn. That meant there was disease on the family. So, unseasonal blooming of plants. Flowers blooming out of season are interpreted as nature mourning someone. All right, if the first funeral in a graveyard is a child, it is said the cemetery will fill up soon. Seeing your own doppelganger, or as the fetch of another person, meant death was near. I have always heard that. If you meet your doppelganger, you will die within 24 hours, is what I always heard. And supposedly I have a doppelganger here in Nashville. Because people are always stopping me and calling me James. Never met him, thankfully. All right. Hearing your name called when no one's there, especially if they say it 3 times, means a spirit is summoning you to the other side. A funeral procession of black animals, like crows, black dogs, or vultures gathering near a home, was seen as a bad sign, usually death. It could just be a streak of very bad luck. Seeing someone without a reflection. That was an omen that the person's passing would happen very soon. I don't know if I've ever experienced that or not. Mirrors falling in a sick room warned that the spirit is already in the room. Another interpretation, waiting to take them home. Seeing a corpse in a dream, especially if it speaks, may be a warning of death coming. Dreaming of your teeth falling out is an omen linked to someone else's death. So someone in your family. Hearing crying or wailing with no known source is interpreted as a spirit, especially from Irish lineages. Hearing chains dragging in or around the home can signify a spirit of the dead is wandering near. Think about Christmas Story when I hear that. Lights flickering repeatedly when no other cause is found can signal a spirit passing. The night that I worked on this and found that passage, and I typed it in my notes, this is no lie, I hadn't been in bed an hour when I woke up because I was dreaming that the lights were flickering in the house. Like, huh, what the hell? If a candle burns blue near someone that's sick, it's a sign that spirit is in the room and they're thinning the veil. Firewood popping extra loudly or splitting oddly is a sign of a death prop. This is called a coffin crack, when the wood cracks really loud on a fire. A lamp or fire that won't light in a room with a dying person means spirit has already started crossing over. Sudden, inexplicable cold breezes passing through the room of the ill or elderly means a spirit has visited and probably ready to take them home. Wind howling around the house with no storm present is a sign that death is watching the house. The smell of roses or lilies in a place where there are none foretells of a funeral. The smell of earth is in an unexpected place is a sense of death. I have smelt dirt before when there wasn't any around, so it's supposed to be a sign of death. All right, so a shadow passing over the heart, a sudden sharp pain in the chest, is a sympathetic omen for someone else's death. So that's meant that someone you know just died. The right eye twitching means bad news and death. Left eye twitching means birth and good luck. A sudden mark or birthmark appearing new on your body. That foretells who will carry the death energy and be marked for grief. So that's really interesting. Someone else will be marked as the person who's going to feel grief next. Okay, so hearing ghostly music or funeral home music from nowhere, especially in a quiet place, is an omen of passing. In the South, we play some really bad music in funeral homes. I've already told Greg I don't want none of that. No rugged cross, please. A music box playing on its own is often believed to be the presence of a spirit of someone tied to that object. Hearing bells when there are no bells is a classic spiritual sign of transition, sometimes tied to angelic visitations or psychopomp spirits. A rocking chair rocking by itself, it means the chair is being visited by a spirit. Shoes falling from a shelf, especially if they're baby shoes, is seen in Southern traditions as an omen of a child's death. A locked door opening by itself signals a spirit has entered and left the room. An unattended clock chiming can be a warning that time is running out for someone in the house. Dreaming of digging a hole or standing in a grave foretells of someone's passing. And I thought this one was interesting. Dreaming of being pulled underwater by something is a signal that a spirit is dragging you to the other side. So, ick. So these aren't omens here, but they're ways that folks responded when an omen came. We already covered cover all the mirrors. After someone dies, to prevent the spirit from getting caught, stop all the clocks in the house at the time of death. Open a window immediately after death so the soul can have a place to exit the building. Lay coins on the eyes to help pay passage to the other world. Place black ribbon on the doorknob so the neighbors would know mourning was present. And a lot of these I've talked about here, we're talking about really old ways when people died at home, instead of in hospitals and so forth. So, any omens I didn't cover you guys know about?
I used to work in a nursing home, so a lot of dying people,
Mm-hmm.
and the big two were the person who's going to die within a few months would start seeing dead relatives, usually spouses, or usually this was at the latest 2 weeks before they were going to die, they would see a man in black.
Yeah, the man in black, yeah.
We just think it means just death in general.
Yeah, a psychopomp to carry you to the other side. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on death comes in threes?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, death comes in threes. I mean, I've always noticed that. You know, it's like a who's going to be next. There's never one death. Never. Hmm. Interesting. I had a friend that died a few years ago. Well, it would have been before COVID, so probably 7 or 8 years ago. He died in a car wreck. And that's when my practice room was still up here in the hallway in the building. Um, and he died on one day, and I'm not making this up. For the next 3 days, every morning when I came in, there was a dime in all four corners of my room. That happened for 3 days. Now, I'd never experienced anything like that before. So, right. Yeah. All right. So a little bit about death traditions, and the things I'm going to talk about here, just go through quickly. They can vary by traditions, denominations, so forth. In Christian traditions, death is seen as a passage. It's not an end. The soul is believed to continue on to eternal life, usually heaven or hell. Sometimes a purifying state like purgatory. Um, Funerals are often marked with prayers, scripture, hymns that offer comfort and hope of a resurrection. There's a strong belief of being reunited with loved ones and meeting God. So, in Judaism, they view death as a natural part of life, though beliefs about the afterlife can vary. Traditionally, the body is treated with great reverence. Burial happens quickly, usually within 24 hours. The focus is on respect for the dead and comfort for the living. A mourning ritual, like Shiva, starts the day of the funeral. So there are 7 days of mourning in Judaism that starts after the funeral to help the grieving process. I know that in Judaism, the funeral process is more for the remaining family than for the one who deceased. It's to help them cope with the death. Buddhism, a lot of different traditions there, but basically in Buddhism, death is simply a transition, a doorway to another life through reincarnation and shaped by karma. The ultimate goal is enlightenment and liberating the cycle of rebirth called samsara. Practices around death involve meditating, chanting, creating peaceful environments to help the soul detach and move on. Buddhist chants for a deceased person can vary, but they're usually performed during a 49-day period after death. 49 days marks the time that it takes for a potential rebirth. Chanting occurs daily, the early hours while the body's still present, continues at the local temple every 7 days for 7 weeks. And then some traditions do a final ceremony on the 100th day after death. And I do know there's one tradition that they chant for 72 hours after a Buddhist dies. One person will chant for a few hours, the next person will go in. So it's constant chanting for 72 hours to help with their transition. So Hinduism, it's believed the soul is eternal, passes from one life through the next through reincarnation, and based on karma. Death is seen as a spiritual transition. The ritual of last rites help guide the soul toward the next destination. Cremation is common. Ashes are often scattered in rivers in the Hindu tradition. In pagan and earth-based traditions, there are a lot of different practices. But basically, it's a time honored as part of the cycle of natural life. Birth, death, and rebirth. The veil between the world goes thin, especially during times like Samhain. When the ancestors are remembered, there's often a deep reference for spirits of the dead. Rituals may involve candles, offerings, and journeys to continue with them. So, in pagan and earth-based traditions, it really depends on the pantheon. There are a lot of different traditions there that talk about death. So, all right. So, grave magic. So the graveyard is not a place of fear. It's a place of deep power, a place where bones rest, the spirits listen. In Southern magic tradition, we go to the graveyard not to stir up the dead, but to honor them, to speak, to ask, and to work only when we are welcomed. And we don't do anything in a graveyard without being welcomed. There is graveyard etiquette that needs to be observed when we're doing this. You never take anything without permission. No dirt, no flowers, nothing. Never take it without permission. You always bring an offering. It's good if you're there to clean some headstones as a an act of kindness. Do not litter in the graveyard. It's a shame you have to say that, but you do. Don't bring any mirrors into a graveyard. It confuses the spirits. They can see themselves in it. Don't sit on the headstones. And then, petty thing to me, don't bring a boom box and have a party dancing on the grave sites. I've seen that happening. So this is a place of reverence, not a place to party. Huh? Do what? Right, exactly. Uh, and when collecting graveyard dirt, don't leave a mark on the landscape. It shouldn't be obvious you took dirt there. I will usually try to collect dirt in the spring when there's fresh grass growing, so you can kind of peel the grass up, get you some dirt, leave your offering, and put the grass back down. It's best not to collect dirt close to the headstone, the gravestone, because if everybody keeps digging around the headstone, it'll weaken the soil and it'll eventually fall over or fall in. Before you do anything in a graveyard, before you speak a name or collect any dirt, you ask permission. This starts at the gate. Don't just walk in, stand still, get quiet, speak, and listen to the spirits. You can say something like, spirits, known and unknown, I come in peace. I bring no harm. I ask your permission to walk, to learn, to gather only what is freely offered. If I am welcome, make the path smooth. If not, I will go. And then you listen. You listen with your body, your skin, your breath. If you feel peace and warm, lightness, then go on in. You've been welcomed. If your chest tightens, your gut sinks, you feel a pushback, then the spirit said no. And you honor that and you walk away. There's a saying, not today. Nothing is taken freely. We always leave a payment or an offering. That keeps the work clean and it shows respect. Common offerings, 3 pennies or silver coins if you're asking for a favor. There's different traditions on how you do that. A splash of rum or whiskey, a few strands of tobacco, a sweet flower, a prayer. And don't bring any items that are meant for cleansing or banishing. You wouldn't go to a graveyard to collect dirt and take white sage with you and make it an offering, This is their home. We're not trying to clear them out. For myself, when I collect dirt, I stop at the gate and ask permission. I will leave 3 dimes. I'll dig up the dirt. This is dirt, graveyard dirt. I'll leave 3 dimes where I took the dirt. And then as I'm leaving, I will leave 3 quarters at the gate. So I talk to the spirits coming in. I leave a gift where I took the dirt, and I thank the spirits when I leave. So this is actually a picture of me. This is, well, you can tell by the hair, it's been many years. But this is at my great-grandmother's grave. I went there one day. This is the dirt I actually collected. And, she wasn't a witch, but she was good old Southern folk magic. But I collected this dirt more of an ancestor work. Her spirit, she was a very, very strong woman. I've never met anyone like her spirit, just how strong. she was, you know, working 16, 18 hours a day. Bless the woman's heart, she had 17 kids. You know, and still kept going. So, you know, she worked hard her whole life, and I admire that spirit, you know. And then, you know, a typical ancestor altar, you got pictures of your ancestors, not yourself, but, you know, some graveyard dirt, some water, a white candle. Um, so graveyard dirt is sacred. It is a gift. It holds spirit. It holds a story. And here's some things about where to actually collect the dirt. Collect graveyard dirt in the north side of the graveyard if you're using it for binding, crossing, or hiding something. Collect the dirt in the south for love and power. Collect from the east to bring something to you, someone to you, or for healing work. Or collect from the west to send something away or to end a situation. Collect dirt from the gate for protection or threshold work. Um, collect dirt from a beloved ancestor for blessings and guidance, which is what I do with this. Uh, collect dirt from a soldier or a criminal for justice work, if you're working with some kind of justice spell. Collect dirt from a lawyer or judge's grave to use in court work. From a banker's grave to do money work. You can also, if they don't see you, you can get it out of the flower pot outside the bank. But they all got cameras these days. You can collect dirt from an artist or musician's grave for creativity type work. From a family for ancestor veneration. From a doctor or nurse's grave for healing work. So, you know, those kind of energies exist in those graves. So that's where you would go. To collect the work, use your hand or small spoon. Speak it as you collect it. You know, with your blessing, I take this small bit of earth. I will honor it. I will use it with care. We're always in veneration when we're in a graveyard. Label what you collect. Treat it like a medicine. Keep it safe. And then working with bones and coffin nails, since they seem to be associated with graves. Bones, make sure the animal is ethically sourced if you're going to work with that. You know, preferably go out in the woods and find bones that are already processed. You can use bones in spirit communication. You can use them in protection charms. You can use them in divination sets, good old bone readings. And some bones are illegal to own. You know, check your local laws and ordinances. You know, no one wants to get, if you do divination work, reading the bones, don't take your eagle bone with you. So, you know, those are illegal to own. Coffin nails. Coffin nails have kind of changed over the years. It's like salt and black salt. The meaning has kind of changed and merged a little bit. Used to, coffin nails were used in baneful work. You know, that's where they were done. But now a lot of people are beginning to use them also for uncrossing and banishing, for protection, releasing the dead, or severing ties with someone. So they've kind of taken on new meanings over the years. It's like salt and black salt. It used to be salt was for protection, black salt was used in banishing work and negativity work. But now see more people wanting black salt for protection. So, I mean, if that's the intent that's in it, then so be it. But it changes over the years. So,
aren't the coffin nails now? They're more symbolic than their coffin nails.
oh yeah,
Right,
yeah,
so
they are more symbolic now. Yeah, you know, we don't do coffins with nails anymore anyway. So they're about all gone. You got to dig really deep to get those. I'm not doing that. Right. All right. Any questions? This is what I have prepared for you today. Just some fun stuff to share. Yeah.
So for me, I've noticed that I pick up on death in ways.
Okay.
Is that typically, like, I don't want to say typically normal, right? But
Uh-huh.
the dreams. The most has been like if I start thinking of somebody I hadn't talked to in a while, like repeatedly. It's like okay. At one point I was like, is everybody dying? But it's either they're dying or they're sick or something traumatic.
You are just, you're a receptor for that kind of energy, you know. And if it bothers you, you can talk with your spirits and ancestors and say, I don't want to hear this. I mean, if it bothers you. But I mean, I would never do that. I would accept what the talent that you have and use it in the best way that you can, you know. I myself, I don't like, you know, oh, David's going to die tomorrow. I don't ever do that. But I know someone's about to die. And sometimes I do know, like, you know, Tina Turner died. You know, I was like, one day I said, she's next. Tina Turner's next, you know, on the list for whatever reason. You know, and like 3 weeks later, she died, you know. Um, I was over here on Elm Hill Pike one day in the car coming this way, and I was under, you know, Briley Parkway goes over Elm Hill, a big overpass, and I was sitting under that overpass at the red light, and I was just looking at the bridge, and I was like, the bridge is gonna fall. The bridge is gonna fall. Scared me to death. I came here, wrote down the date and the time. It's like the bridge is gonna fall, and I kept thinking, all these people are gonna die. Da da da. 2 days later, the Queen of England died. Bridge is falling. You know, yeah. And I was like, well, that was kind of weird. Why did I know this? But okay. But you know. So yeah, we get those messages and we just do with them what we can. I don't get enough specifics to tell someone, but so I just have to kind of walk around knowing, you know. So.
Would you say
Yeah.
that?
Do what? Oh, okay.
Okay. Would you say that like a lot of the death omens that you receive aren't necessarily death in itself as much as like massive transformation because it is still technically a death of like.
I think a lot of them are, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think we're going through a lot of that right now. There are a lot of omens showing change, transition. So that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah.
Are there any stories about a certain sign within a family? Like in my family, it seems like every time my Jupiter return rolls around, somebody dies. Like two or three people. And also the lady who was talking about, you know, every time somebody dies, there's a birth. And I'm like, maybe that's just her family. So I was just wondering if they're like, oh, every time somebody in our family is gonna die, you know, we hear this or we see this, as opposed to just in general.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It could be that, you know, it travels in lineages, you know, the different omens that work in those families. And it probably has a lot to do with the family believing it as well.
Yeah. Although with the Jupiter return thing, I think I'm the only one who
Right.
like, I haven't even told anybody. I'm like, I don't know. I think I started this somehow.
Yeah.
You don't tell them, they'll kill you off.
Right.
What about premonitions of your own death?
You know, I personally don't believe in premonitions of our own death. That's what we're really seeing. I think we are seeing change coming. I think we are being told to look at what doesn't serve us anymore. You know, that there's a part of you that needs to die, you know. So. Anything else?
It's not really a question, more of whenever you're talking about coffin nails and them not being readily available anymore because we don't use nails in coffins.
Right.
Something that's been passed down in my family is if you need a coffin nail, you don't have one, you can take the graveyard dirt that you have from the ancestors and place small nails over the top of it and kind of bury it in it. Close it up for however many moon cycles, and relatively it's like 30 to 45 days, and then you open it back up and you pull the nails out. You have, you know, a representation of the coffin.
Absolutely. You have manifested a tool you need to work with. I like that. I like that. All right. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Little gift sets up here if anybody wants one. There's little coffin bookmarks and ghost stickers in here if anybody wants one.